Awards. With Smooth Pride and Dirk Bentley. Performances by GCLD, Lady Antonella, and Little...
There we go. All right, well, there you go. You got a little bit of an idea of who I am, who we are as Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. If you want to take down a couple of Facebook pages, we have the Vegan Journal of a Rancher's Wife was the very first ever Facebook page that I had. When I started the Vegan Journal of a Rancher's Wife, I wasn't even thinking of Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. It was just me needing an outlet for my feelings, my emotions. I'd gone vegan October 31st of 2014, and I was a rancher's wife, a rancher by proxy, and I didn't know what to do. I was literally crying on the social media shoulder of a friend named Jeannie, who lived in Crescent City, Oregon. And I met her. She was over 20 years vegan on Facebook, and that was my very first vegan friend. All the other vegans I knew were the cows. Yeah. So Jeannie was the one that helped me make the decision to start the journal. How many of you are vegan out here? Okay. How many are vegetarian? Raise hands high. Okay. How many are transitioning to veganism? Okay. And how many are omnivore curious about veganism? How many are curious? That's why you're here, right? Go ahead and raise your hands. Hey, I used to kill cows for a living. That's what we did, right? We killed cows. That's what we did. I might not have slit their throat, but we were a part of an industry that was killing animals for profit. And when I would watch the red trailer take these babies to the sale barn twice a year, it began to kill my insides. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm from the city. I grew up in a little town called Jacinto City, just outside of Houston. Graduated from Galena Park High School. I went to the rodeos. I had a collection of leather boots. I was as Texan as anybody. I ate barbecue, T-bone steaks, liked it medium rare, loved prime rib, loved shrimp, loved all that good Texas food that we all grew up to love, right? That's who I was. So changing was not easy for me. Changing is not easy for any of us because we grow up in a culture that actually adulterates us. We are acculturated to believe things about our eating patterns and the way we treat animals that ancestors way back did. But there's a lot of different stories if you really start researching and you really start looking, especially when it comes to the various religions that are available to you today. If you really start researching, you will find that eating animals was not a common practice. It was forced on people. They wanted to do it because of their own inability to adapt, or they, wanted to be very, I don't know. It was part of the culture, So how many of you out here every single day kind of deal with the pressures as a vegan of eating animals? You deal with pressures if you're vegans. We just kind of dealt with it a while ago at the restaurant, so it was kind of interesting. We wanted some a tofu walk, and they didn't have any tofu, but they had a lot of other stuff. They had a lot of other stuff. Okay, my talk today, whenever Faraz asked me to do this, we kind of bounce back and forth about what to call my talk. And it's Texas Rancher's Wife Starts the Ranch of the Future. So I didn't start the Ranch of the Future on purpose. This was not a business plan, even though I am, I've had a lot of businesses in my life. I've grown up, pretty much as an entrepreneur doing what I wanted to do, not really working for, anybody. I've had my own yoga studio. I had a medical spa that I built with a bunch of doctors. I've been a realtor. This is all in my 59 years. I've been a country and western rock and roll singer with my own band, producing Texas country women in music all over Texas. So this is the kind of things that, this is who I was as a person. So when I married my husband, my cattle rancher husband, for the second time, we've been married twice. He didn't have the ranch the first time, okay? We divorced back in 1996, I think it was, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that. But we divorced and we remarried in 2010. He had acquired the ranch. He is a multi-generational cattle rancher. His heritage dates back to the 1800s. His great-grandpa had slaughterhouses in Houston and in Alvin. They actually drove cows from San Antonio, just like they did in the old days, in herds, and took them all up to the slaughterhouse. And, back then, farming was much different than it is today. Animal agriculture today looks nothing like it did in the 1800s. I'm not saying that the way they did it back then was cool either, but the way they're doing it now is atrocious. It's an abomination of our soul, of who we are as a humanity. We are killing species. Animal extinction is happening rapidly. Deforestation. Species extinction is terrible enough. The ocean acidification that's happening as a result of animal agriculture. World hunger. Water depletion. The list goes on and on. Pollution. Greenhouse gas emissions. All of this as a result of eating animals. We have one planet Earth. One. We don't have an extra Earth to go around to cultivate, to grow more animals so that we can be satisfied by their flesh, by their excretions. I didn't know this. These are the things I'm talking about because this is the stuff I've learned. Who wants to get online and look at a bunch of babies being stolen from their mother and slaughtered so that we can eat them? Who wants to look at that? Who loves looking at that? No. Who loves eating it? Who loves eating it? Come on. Who eats hamburgers? Come on now, don't be telling me this, No. Who eats hamburgers, cheeseburgers, chicken filet? I love Chick-fil-A. So we eat those animals, but we can't look at what we're doing. That was me. I was that Texan. I was that Texan that couldn't look. I could go to the store, buy the package. I could go to Chick-fil-A, which was my favorite. I love Chick-fil-A. I could eat it every day. But when I started having trouble with the red trailer taking those babies to the sale barn, I had to start looking because my insides started dying. Literally, my insides started to be crushed. I kind of jump around because this is a story of evolution. The story has evolved so much since I started telling it. And so when I married my husband, like I was telling you earlier, when I married my husband, I was a realtor at the time, a top producing realtor, making some really good money. Not one of these poor realtors. I was making, 6 figures and a top producer. And I moved in with my husband and didn't like the dirt. I didn't like putting my high-heeled shoes in the rocks. I wore suits. I was, a very, Texan city girl. But I loved Tommy. And so we remarried. And when he wanted me to get involved in the ranching business, wanted me opening gates, helping him, with the barn, with the hay, I was like, no, you do that. I'm going to do my yoga, thank you very much. I didn't really want to, open a gate or help with the cows. They were out there just pasture ornaments to me at the time. I didn't see them. They were there. I pass along the highways now and I cry when I look at all the cows. I look and I just don't want to look, but I have to look. And so when I started seeing these cows out at Tommy's ranch, as individuals, it was devastating to me. And this is how it happened. I decided to get out of the real estate business because I had moved to the country and the Houston area was too far, so I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll find something else I want to do. It's just that's the way I rolled. And so I was hanging out at the house, and Tommy said, there's a couple of calves up the road that don't have a mama. They need to be bottle fed. How about you go look at them, and maybe you'd like to, have a couple babies, here at the house and bottle feed them. I thought, that sounds cool. I wasn't working at the time. I was just being a housewife, hanging out, doing what I wanted to do. And so I went to see these babies, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're so cute, little bitty calves, so cute. And so I bought them with my own money. There was 2 of them. Bobo was one of them I named, and she died very young. She had some sort of disease and, didn't make it. And the other one was Rowdy Girl. That's the one I named Rowdy Girl. And she was indeed rowdy. And she would run to me twice a day for that bottle. And I would feed her, and she was so cute, and I just loved this baby. And what happened, I never had any kids of my own. And Rowdy Girl was kind of she kind of touched something in me. That maternal instinct that I never really felt before. And I loved her. I still love her. And what happened was she was my entrance into seeing the other cows. Everybody's seen Alice in Wonderland. When you go down the rabbit hole and you go down, but that's what I felt like. I felt like I was Alice in Wonderland going down a rabbit hole, and all at once I was in the middle of a field where all these cows and all these babies, all these bulls made sense. It was a world that was their world, a world they wanted to be in, a world where the babies loved their mothers, the mothers loved their babies. There was even a resident babysitter, and his name, I named him, was Tippy. And I watched this day in, day out as I fed Rowdy Girl. And I started to see that this world belonged to them, not to us. I began to see that I was completely and totally blind. Just like in that Matrix movie. When you take a red pill and you take a blue pill and you're in one world and you take another pill, and that's the world we live in. What pill you want? You want the world a pill of compassion? Where every animal has a right to live and be free and be part of our society, an earthling just like we are? Or do you want to take the pill of violence, where we just continually eat violence day in, day out, participate? Just because you don't slit the throat, don't mean you ain't part of the problem. We're part of the problem if we're eating animals. We just are. If we're buying animal products, we're slitting their throat. Who wants to do that? Somebody might, but anyway, so I was going down this rabbit hole day in, day out, and I'd have to fly back out of that rabbit hole, and I'd have to be strong. I'd have to be a rancher's wife, loyal, dedicated. Because ranching is a traditional, cultural, it's a family value. It's very, very strong. It's deeply entrenched. Generations. I've met 8th generational cattle ranchers. And that value is strong, and they really, really believe that what they're doing is right. It's not like we, as ranchers, think we're doing, something horrible and wrong for our family in the world. We think we're feeding the world, part of the food basket. Let's be part of the food basket here and help the world. But Problem is, we're eating the wrong pill. We're killing the world. You know, there's kids dying of hunger all over the world. All over the world. While we feed cows, chickens, and pigs all the grains that these children could be eating. You know? We've got it all, like our mind is filled with sociological, educational, political, religious, familial, cultural, traditional values that today are going to create a system in a world where your kids, if you have them, are going to be in real trouble. Real trouble. So the ranch of the future? Hopefully the ranch of the future. I did some research last night. You know, that's why I didn't want to go to the pizza party. I thought, you know, I need to see if there's any vegan, plant-based ranches of the future out there. None. Zero. But there's a lot of ranches out there that are teaching the humane meat myth. They're teaching the, you know, hormones. You know, well, let's give them their, you know, antibiotic-free, you know, pasture-raised. You know, there's a lot of so-called compassionate farming going on out there. I mean, somebody approached us to do that. Do you know when I was in the middle of becoming a sanctuary, raising the money to do this, that somebody approached us? A big organization approached us to be a pasture-raised organization. I had to sign a non-disclosure. I can't tell anybody who that was. 5 years, I can't talk about it. Got 4 years to go. Yeah. There's organizations out there, they're creating these farms. Yeah, I mean, these farms, and it's big money. I mean, when you go to some of these foods and you buy this humane meat, humane eggs, how many of you think you're doing so good eating humane meat and humane eggs? Come on, nobody? Nobody wants to raise their hand out here. Yeah, see, nobody wants to raise their hand. There you go. Have a brave soul. I was one of those. I would buy, I'd go to the store, and I won't name any names, and it would say, you know, all these different grades of humane, you know, and I would buy that, and I had my own chickens. They were laying eggs just for me. I mean, does anybody like their own eggs out in their own backyard? Yeah. What's wrong with that, right? Do you really want to know what's wrong with that? Can I tell them what's wrong with that? I'm going to tell them what's wrong with that. How many of you know what an egg is? Who said that? You did? You said a chicken period? Yeah, okay. So it's a chicken period, and they lay periods every day. God, you know, I would love to be the one having a period every day when somebody comes and grabs it and scrambles it and eats it for breakfast. Oh my God, really? You know, isn't that gross? Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you look at it like that, right? Come on, you got to look at it. You got to, like, you know, like animal equality was you know, you had the animal equality on, you had those glasses on because you're going to have to see things through another set of eyes. I mean, you know, we've got to start seeing things through another set of eyes. These chickens that we eat, I mean, people are eating less beef, and they are eating so many chickens now because they think chickens are so good for us. You know, and they're raised to be so fat. You know, we have one at home where her name is Daisy, and she's a broiler chicken, and the United States leads the way in agriculture for chickens. And they're horrible. I have this big fat chicken. I promise you, she's this fat, and she's not even 4 months old. This fat. She can't even walk. She waddles. Because she's got muscular dystrophy. Because that's what this does. When they feed you all those hormones and all that stuff they give these poor chickens, they grow up with all this fat. I think it's like a little over 200% more fat than they were in the old days. when the chickens, roam the earth, you're eating 200% more fat and you think you're really doing good eating chicken. Get your chicken out. Look at it. They've got all these striations in it, all these little white lines. That's fat. Not good. And the eggs, they're made to lay eggs every day. They're genetically modified to lay eggs every single day. And they violate the feminine. How would you like it if you were genetically modified to have a period every day? So why do we think that it's okay to violate the feminine of other animals? Chickens, cows, pigs, sheep. They're all violated every single day. Now, I didn't know this when I moved in with my husband and went down that rabbit hole. I learned this. And the only way you guys are going to learn it, y'all are here for an education. The only way you're going to learn it is to do your own research. Because I doubt very seriously you're going to be taught this. That's what's so powerful about the social media. That's how I know. I got on social media and I started looking at things I didn't want to see. I would cry in my office, literally. I would look at how these babies, calves, were taken from their mothers. Literally taken, barely even out of the womb. Thrown in a wheelbarrow. The mother's crying, grieving. And at that very moment, a man comes with a glove and artificial insemination. And he takes his fist and he puts it right up the uterus of that cow. And he artificially inseminates this cow. And she one more time grieves while she's impregnated, raped, while she grieves the loss of her child. This happens over and over. I didn't learn this in school. The ranches of the future, hopefully, the ranches of the future will stop doing that. The ranches of the future will figure out a way to have some compassion for these animals and start creating sanctuaries, more sanctuaries for these animals, more ways. We got a big, huge world we live in. There is a way to create more space for these animals to live and to stop breeding them for food. To stop that. We need to stop breeding, period. Humans need to stop breeding. We all need to stop breeding. We're living in a world where, we just want more and more people, more animals, more this, more that, more plastic, more everything. Just get more and more and more. Just consume. And you know what? You think this is going to last forever? We're living in a world where the ranches of the future, hopefully, will be our saving grace instead of our destruction. So I'd come out of that rabbit hole that I was talking about. And I'd go into my husband and I'd cry. I wasn't even vegan at the time, y'all. I'd say, Tommy, we got to stop doing this. I'd see that red trailer out there and I'd watch them, loading up these babies. They bait the babies. The red trailer, has a gate on it, and they put a chain on it so only the babies can get in. The mamas can't get in, only the babies, and they bait them in there, about 6 months old, 7 months old. And I'd see this happening, and it took a few days for them to get the courage and to start trusting that they could go in there and everything would be fine. They'd lived there for 6 months, 7 months. Why shouldn't they trust that they could go up in there and eat? And then when there was about 6, 7, 8 of them all up in there, the chain would come off, the gate would shut, the trailer would go, trapped. It would go down that driveway. All the mamas would follow. Moms didn't get back, sit back and go, oh, God, I'm so glad my babies are gone. Good God, I was ready to get rid of them. No, they cried. They followed that red trailer. This is how my eyes started opening. They followed that trailer. The trailer would turn down Highway 35, and those cows would turn down that fence line we've got. We got 1.5 miles of fence line. They would go down that fence line as far as they could run after that red trailer, not mooing, wailing, moaning. And they did this for days until they lost their voice. And I would go into my husband crying. And I'd say, Tommy, I don't know how we can do this. I just can't do this. And he said he would get mad at me. Renee, you got to suck it up. You got to suck it up. You know, this is what we do. This is what we do. You don't mind spending the money, do you? And I'd shut up. Because I did spend the money. You don't mind eating a hamburger, do you? And I'd shut up. Because I was eating them. But what was happening to me was my eyes wasn't closed anymore. My heart was opening. And my soul was bleeding for what was going on right in front of me. I would go outside and I would beat the ground. Beat it with my fists in front of these mothers crying for their babies. And I would beg their forgiveness. The earth could take my cries. It was that bad. I did this for 6 years. For 6 years. And I just kept getting more and more unable to cope. I was losing my mind, literally. October 31st, 2014, I went vegan. And the reason why I went vegan was this was all happening. Me and my husband were progressively having more and more fights. And I was watching all these videos I was talking to you about. And I was telling my husband that we, had to stop doing this. And we were fighting. And it was real tense in our house. And I wasn't quite vegan yet. And then I watched this Melanie Joy video. I was already close. I was vegetarian. I was, really hanging on to the eggs and the cheese and, and the milk from the dairy. We were getting milk from a dairy. And, I was thinking all this was okay. And then I watched Melanie Joy. She told the story about this. Have y'all seen it, the carnism video? She tells the story about this family eating beef stew. They're all sitting around a table and they're eating beef stew. Everybody's enjoying this beef stew. I mean, God, who doesn't like beef stew if you're eating beef stew and you're eating animals and you know nothing about veganism? I mean, I ate beef stew. I loved it, and somebody says, can you tell me the recipe? Now, I embellish this story because I can, and so she says, oh, well, sure, you start off with a pound of very lean ground golden retriever. Golden retriever? Yes, young golden retriever, like a puppy. How about 6 or 7 little babies? A litter of golden retrievers. And you slit their throat while they're alive, and you hang them up, and you cut their legs off, and you skin them, and chop them up real good, and everybody's about to faint. A puppy. Oh, just kidding. It's really, really cow meat. Still nobody can eat it. The thought of the golden retriever. I saw this, y'all, and I did embellish it a little bit, but I saw this, and I was like mortified. I was, oh my God, a puppy. That evening, Halloween, I went to my mother-in-law's like we did every year, because every Halloween, there's a Halloween parade that goes by her neighborhood. It's all for the kids, and my niece and my nephew were there with their babies, and all the kids were there, and my mother-in-law was serving beef stew. She was. I sat down, and she brings this bowl to me, big old steaming bowl of beef stew, and all of a sudden, y'all, the lights went out. It was buzzing for me. That moment of truth was on me like I've never had it before. I looked at that bowl and I said, I can't eat that. I can't eat it. And I didn't hear or see anybody really. I was like, it was just like I was talking to the bowl. I can't eat that. She says, well, why not? And everybody's talking, having a good time. And I said, because it's got floating, dead, hacked up animal parts in it. And everybody in the room stopped talking. It was as if I had called it out, the truth. And all of a sudden, everybody looked at me and went, I said, well, it is. It's floating, dead, hacked up animal parts. And my mother-in-law looks at me and she says, well, you could pick it out. And I said, no, ma'am, there's no more picking it out for me. And that's when I knew. That's when I turned the corner. I'd gone vegan that moment. There was no more picking it out for me. I didn't want to touch a utensil that had chicken blood on it. I didn't want to touch. I didn't want anything to do. I went home and anything that had anything to do with animal products was out the door. I was telling Tommy, you know, we're going vegan. I'm going vegan. You know, there's no more. He was like, what? I'm like, oh, that's it. No more. You know, and I said, get all that dead fish out of my freezer. Had all this fish in there, all this venison. And he was like, Renee. I said, no, dead heads on the wall, deer, big old elk. And I'm like, oh, no, this stuff's got to go. All of it's got to go. And that's when the war was on. You ever seen War of the Roses? That's what it was like in my house, man. But instead of hanging him from the chandelier, I was ready to hang him from that elk up there. I promise you, those horns were huge. And I imagined hanging him up there. Well, you know, I was calling the man a murderer. We were not happy. We were not happy at all. And so, at that point in time, I had my friend Jeannie, and she told me about Forks Over Knives. She told me about Cowspiracy. She told me, Renee, start getting all these videos and show them to him. So I did. I got Cowspiracy, I got Forks Over Knives, I got Food Matters, I got Vegucated, I got Harold Brown's Peaceable Kingdom, The Journey Home, several others. I don't know, but we started with Cowspiracy. And Tommy started watching. He would watch these. Tommy was very open-minded to watching if there was a doctor involved or, you know, there was some research. He was open to it. And so he watched, and he started getting an open mind. And he decided he was going to start eating like I ate. But if he didn't like the way it tasted, he was going to tell me, and he did. Because I wasn't very good at cooking vegan in the beginning. I was good at cooking chicken fried steak. I was good at cooking all those mashed potatoes with milk and butter and all that in it. But to learn how to cook vegan, it wasn't really that hard. It just took a minute. It took a minute to start, you know, reading other websites. It took a minute to start getting other friends that helped me out. To start learning what other products that were out there I could eat. It didn't have dead animal flesh all in it and stuff. I mean, that's all. They're out there, especially in today's world. The ranch of the future is going to think about those things. It's going to care about your health, not about their wealth. The ranch of the future is going to care about you, not about animal agriculture. You know, we've come so far. My phone rings every week. Every week or so, I get a call from a rancher or a wife or a family member or a next door neighbor. If you've ever been or known anybody in recovery, you know how like one alcoholic can talk to another alcoholic, but you know, they can really talk the same language. It's kind of the same way with us ranchers. You know, they don't mind picking up the phone and calling us because they know that they can talk to us. They may not want to talk to somebody from California or New York because they don't speak the same language. But we will have these ranchers calling us, and you know, just the other day, one from the UK sent me an email. We've got 170 something acres, I think about 101 animals, cows, and they're considering a transition to a vegan sanctuary. My God, really? Oh, yes. You know, and they're wanting some feedback. They're wanting to talk to us, and I think they're also talking to Mr. Lyman, Howard Lyman, the Mad Cowboy. And, you know, these things like this are happening. A couple years ago, I was at the Health Fest in Marshall, Texas, which is where we're going tonight. We're flying into Marshall. I was there 2 years ago. I've been there 2 years in a row, but I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. An 8th generational cattle rancher's wife comes up to me. 8th generation. And leans into my table. I had a booth there. And she says, I want you to talk to my husband. We have, it was hundreds of acres. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I think 700-800 acres. And our kids, they're going vegan. They don't want to do this anymore. We got to do something different. That's the world we're moving into, y'all. The millennials. The millennials. Who in here is a millennial? Yeah, y'all are the ones. Y'all are changing the minds and the hearts of our culture. It's you. They don't want to do this anymore. 8th generation cattle ranch. Talk to my husband. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Oh, boy, Mr. Stetson walked in with a Stetson hat. He had on those pointy-toed boots with the silver things on them. The jacket with all the country and western, you know, little stuff all over it. He walks in with a toothpick in his mouth. He comes up to my table. He leans down on me and he says, I hear you got something to talk to me about, little lady. Yeah. I said, yes, sir. You must be Mr. So-and-so. Yes, ma'am. I said, well, what is it you'd like to know, sir? He said, well, I'm embarrassed to talk about it. He said, but my wife sent me over here. And he was an older man, you know. He was dressed to the nines, country western now, you know. Leather, everywhere, you know, everywhere leather. And he said, my wife told me to come over here and talk to you. He said, our kids don't want to take over the ranch. And we want to know how you're doing this and what it is. How do you make money if you don't have a ranch? You know, this is what we've been doing for 8 generations. How do you make money? Oh, gosh, you know. I talked to him. I told him about the sanctuary, and this is where the dilemma is. How do you make money? This is where y'all come in. This is where we all come in. We're developing a program called Rancher Advocacy Program. It's in development. Any of you that want to get involved, that want to help me do research to figure out how to help other ranches of the future stop killing animals and start doing something different to help the world, that's what this program's about. I have a few ideas. You know, I've been talking to some people, of course. I've got some students at Stanford University that have been doing some research for us. We've got to start doing it, but I'm 59, okay? I gotta, you know, get this ball rolling and then hand it off, you know, throw the ball, boom. We got to get this thing going. We don't have a lot of time. We act like we do. We don't. If we keep growing at the rate we're going, how many of you know how many people live on this planet? Right now, somebody does. How many? 7.5 billion people. How many animals do we kill for agriculture every year? Huh?
70 billion.
60 to 70 billion. Oh my gosh. Where does all that feces go? Where does all that blood go?
In our water.
Yes, in our water. Water depletion, acidification, oceans just dying. If you go overhead with drones and you look at the places where they're farming these animals, It will make you sick. They hide this all from you. It's hidden. We walk around in our little matrix, taking that pill we like so much, believing all this stuff. But I promise you, when you take that other pill and you start seeing the truth and the reality of the world we live in, you will realize, you will see with real eyes why you're here. If you want this planet to have a chance. The ranch of the future is going to care about that. It's not going to keep depleting our resources just for money. So with this program we're developing, we're wanting all of it, any student that wants to help us figure this out. I mean, I have this great idea, which is great to me because, I have a vision of these feed stores. Every day we go to a feed store in our local Angleton area. And we buy feed. And these people love us. We spend lots of money there. And when we go there, there's right at the front counter, there's a big old barrel, Jane saw it, of pig ears. I couldn't count, how many pig ears. We have pigs at our sanctuary. Roo, Gizmo, Penny, Ivy. They're our friends. They're smart. They have the intelligence of little children. They're awesome beings, our pigs. And when I look in that barrel and I see pig ears, bacon may taste good, but it ain't good for that animal. I promise you, that animal, it's being treated in a way in our culture that is an abomination to us. So when I look at that, and I'm at these feasters, I'm thinking, well, instead of having cowspiracy videos in a barrel, the ranches of the future could own feed stores that furnish feed for their community that they live in. Anybody could buy the feed, but when they go in to buy the feed, they're educated on a plant-based diet. There's a video in the corner of the feed store that's playing Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, What the Hell, playing all, nothing, graphic for the community. Maybe that could be in the back room. but we could have the feed stores of the future with ranchers that really want to change, could make a living feeding their communities with the same feed. In fact, the ranches that want to change could grow feed, make the feed for the animals, sack it up, feed stores could then supply it, and we could educate the world around us, one community at a time on a plant-based diet. I think it would work. It just takes organization, collaboration, coordination. See, the feed store we go to is owned by a big company right down the road. Do you know I went and talked to the owner the other day of that feed store because we're spending so much money? I tried to get them to donate $2,000 to us on our birthday. They donated $100, but he didn't even know what we were doing up the road. He didn't know we were spending that much money. He fainted. He was like, "What? Y'all are doing what?" And he sat and talked to me. We had a conversation for an hour. They have all these great big silos. They get all this grain. They grow all this grain, corn, wheat, oats, you name it. And they make all this feed. And then they furnish these feed stores. Why couldn't the ranches of the future do that? Huh? Why couldn't they? And then why couldn't some of those ranches of the future be sanctuaries like ours? We just got to start thinking different. We've got to put on a new pair of glasses, swallow a different pill, and really, really mean it. Once I went vegan, it's as if something shifted in me. There's a book called World Peace Diet. World Peace Diet by Will Tuttle. This book is a must-read for y'all. It is eating for spiritual health and social harmony. When I open this book and I go to the very first chapter and I read, I'm going to read this to you because it's really powerful. Chapter 1, Food's Power. The world is his, who can see through its pretensions. What deafness, what stone-blind custom, what overgrown error you behold, is there only by sufferance, your sufferance. See it to be a lie, and you have already dealt it a mortal blow. That's by Emerson. The most violent weapon on earth is the table fork. The most violent weapon on earth. So now then, we have a 96-acre farm animal sanctuary. We are home to, right now, I think we have 53 cows. We have 28 chickens. Don't quote me, you know. I hadn't had but one cup of coffee. 28 chickens, I think 3 roosters, 4 pigs, a goat, 2 beautiful turkeys that love to be hugged, and they love to hug you back, 3 ducks, 4 horses, and a partridge in a pear tree. That's what we have at Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. Rowdy Girl Sanctuary is home to the most beautiful animals. They roam free. They're happy. These cows love life. They never get to see that red trailer go off and take their babies away anymore. Their children, their family members, their cousins. Everybody lives the life they deserve to live. We have tours. Visitors come. You know, it's rowdygirlsanctuary.org is our website. You can see us on Facebook. Rowdy Girl Sanctuary has a Facebook page. And we encourage you to follow us, to come see us. And I want to open everything up to questions here in a minute. This has been a remarkable experience for us. My husband is at home taking care of things. We are really excited about where we're going. We just celebrated our 2-year birthday. We are a nonprofit. That's how we take care of things, is by donations and grants and foundations. So we appreciate all the help. We appreciate the opportunity to come out and educate you on the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. So I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Faraz. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Okay, so we want to open it up to questions. Yes?
So I think the way Americans eat meat is, for the most part, largely immoral. So I like what you're doing to a large extent, but I don't think it's inherently wrong to eat meat. So for instance, let's say there's an invasive species like a hog in Alabama who is crowding out the ecosystem, who is disrupting croplands. I assume you have to eradicate it somehow. It's a large-scale parasite. Once you do, why is it morally wrong to eat that meat of the hog, or even near extinction? If it now reaches the end of its life, it becomes old, it is in pain, it deserves to be euthanized. Why waste that meat?
So your question, as I understand it, is if there's an invasive species, as you called it, an invasive.
Yeah. So I mean, is it inherently wrong to eat meat, or are there mechanisms by which it's okay to eat meat?
Well, you have to ask yourself: is it okay to eat your neighbor, just because they might be an invasive species? Okay. The whole idea, and this question revolves around an invasive The word invasive species is a word that we've made up. Okay? It's the real invasive species is humanity. That's the truth. We're the invasive species. We are the ones that violate animals with no voice. We are the ones that have taken over every inch of their territory. We did that. But yet we have the audacity to call them the invasive species. Yes?
Like it's like if you bring a hog from Asia to Alabama, I mean, that is by definition an invasive species. I'm not saying like that we're not a problem as well. I'm saying like if you bring a hog in and it disrupts the ecosystem, you have to do away with it somehow. You can't let it disrupt the ecosystem. So what do? You have to.
So if you go from here to Asia, are we supposed to end your life?
Well, I mean, if you let these invasive species thrive, they ruin ecosystems that were doing really well before. Right?
Well, we are the ones invading the species and destroying the ecosystems. See, we've got this all backwards. And I understand your dilemma and your question, but you're not going to hear me say it's okay to eat animals. If it's okay for us to eat animals, it's okay for us to take a slice out of, our children's butt and, cure it up and eat it for bacon. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, earthlings, we're all earthlings. We're all here with the same rights. Humans have decided to take on the role of deciding what we eat. We've decided as humanity how to treat these animals with no voice. We call it all kind of things. The big thing that, it's animal agriculture. It's, what's the big thing that the ranchers do? They call it, what's the word?
Processing?
No, the word ranchers use when they're trying to control the environment.
Controlling?
When they're trying to control the environment. Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. Who else had a question? You did?
Oh no, I was just trying to say, how would you, what's your plan for invasive species? Because an invasive species is when something such as zebra mussels, they knock along Lake Travis, for example, they aren't there yet, but in other places they exist there and they're disrupting the ecosystem, taking all the food from the native species, and like the anacondas in Florida. I used to live in Florida. They're eating the alligators and you're eating all the fish. So the plants, everything just gets thrown out of whack. Similarly to how when the wolves came out of Yellowstone National Park, the rivers changed.
So what I need is a question. Because a question on top of all of this other stuff it's too much and I can't, so just...
The question is, what do you plan on doing for invasive species or species that don't belong where they are right now?
Okay, so it's the same thing. It's that humanity has become the invasive species. And until we, as a humanity, figure out, see, this is the truth. And nobody wants to listen. It's the problem is this. There's a big cow in the middle of the living room, and everybody walks around it. You guys are smart. You need to get together and realize, see with real eyes, what the problem is. It's humanity. We have done this to the animals. We need to figure it out. That's why there's all these wars. We have all these wars in the world, over land. For what? More animal production, more animal agriculture. It's just crazy. Yes?
So then maybe you would say that a better solution than going out and killing the animals would be to work on different methods of capturing them and returning them back to their original habitats?
That would be a great idea. What a great idea. What she just said was, so you might say that, getting a trap, a very humane trap, trapping these animals and returning them back to their normal habitat would be a solution. That'd be a good solution. Yeah.
A question, considering we kill tens of millions of sharks every year for shark fin soup, which actually tastes just like tofu because it has no taste, would sharks consider humans the invasive species?
I think sharks would consider humans the invasive species. I do, absolutely. I mean, it's horrible what we're doing to sharks. I mean, absolutely, we're taking sharks by the millions, taking their fins off for soup and letting them just float to the bottom of the sea with no defense. Yes.
Can I add something that might help kind of
Mm-hmm.
the idea that I think you're speaking to. I think another way we can, sorry, I'll kind of try to talk this way. I think another way we can think about it too is like if some sort of alien species, right, saw what we were doing to our planet, you know, and noticed that we were the invasive species based on these behaviors, right, that we define invasive species as, you know, would it be justifiable for them to come and decide to, you know, not just exterminate some of us, but also, right, start to eat some of us? Would that be justifiable? And I think, you know, if we're going to justify, right, trying to control these other populations, we have to say, like, yeah, it'd be totally okay, right, for an alien species to come and do that to us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you know, to look at it that way is to look at it like, you know, from the eyes of the animals that are being slaughtered violently at our hands every second. Every second. I mean, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. I mean, there's even a counter you can get. Adapt or what is it? Adapt or something. There's a counter you can get it online and you can see how many animals are killed every second. It's so horrible. And when you see that, you understand that these animals, they do not want to die at our hands. To them, we are the devil. To them, we are definitely an alien species. We care not about them. All we want is their taste, their flesh, and what kind of money they can provide for us. Yes, in the back.
How are we any different from animals that kill and eat other animals?
How are we any different than animals that kill and eat other animals?
Yes, because...
Well, okay, I hear you. You know, how are we any different? Well, number one, a lion has big fangs. They chase, I mean, they can run, I don't know how many miles an hour, but they can run very fast, and they catch their prey with their bare hands and claws and their fangs, and they tear the flesh out, and they eat their dinner. And if you can go do that with your bare hands and your claws and your feet and your mouth and tear at the flesh, hey, why not?
Well, we've evolved intelligence to do it a different way, but killing is killing.
We've done what? We've evolved our...
We do it in a different way. We don't have the strength or speed, but we have intelligence and other needs.
You call that intelligence? I don't call that intelligence. See, we call that intelligence. What it is violence.
But the point is, we kill just like they do. So how?
No, we don't kill like they do. It's animal agriculture. Yes.
How would you respond to the claim that people say, well, we're carnivores? And as it was explained to me, carnivores, when they see roadkill, for example, by the side of the road, salivate and want to eat the animal right there, as it is. They don't need to prepare the animal. They will salivate and want to eat the animal right there. That's how carnivores react. Do people salivate and desire to eat roadkill on the side of the road?
No, I wouldn't say. Well, do you salivate and want to eat roadkill on the side of the road? No. So that's a very good point. And that's, you know, it's not called, you know, we're calling this intelligence because that's what we're taught to do. But honestly, it's just violence. When animal agriculture kills animals the way they do and packages it, you just go buy it, that's not intelligence.
Yes, that's factory farming, and we made it into a systematic way. But if someone were to individually go hunt an animal, like early man used to do, how is that different from when a lion eats somebody? That's violence. What a lion does is violence too.
Well, when my husband was a hunter, okay, and I used to go with him. We used to have land, and he used to hunt. We had deer heads everywhere. So, you know, my husband, you know, used to hunt.
Yes.
But the thing is, I never saw him run after an animal with his bare hands or his feet and his fangs. He used either a bow and arrow or a gun, and that animal didn't have any defense. A deer? What defense does that poor deer have with their baby in the bushes? None.
Doesn't have much defense against a lion either, if you ask me.
But the lion, that's its natural intended. That's its naturally intended for them.
So you're saying it's not naturally intended for us to eat meat at all?
I don't think it is. No.
Can I ask you a question? Given that processed meat has now officially been determined to be carcinogenic by the World Health Organization, which summarized 800 studies, which means that it's like smoking a cigarette, is eating something that causes cancer and heart disease in one's self-interest or a sign of intelligence, or could it be a sign of self-destructive behavior?
Yeah. So, the thing is, he's kind of, the thing is, he's looking at us like, it's kind of difficult to understand and process, right? Because you're a carnivore, right? I was a carnivore, omnivore, carnivore, whatever. But, it's not natural for us. It's become natural to us because we can buy it at the supermarket. That's what's natural. It's natural for us to go to the store, buy what we want, and fix it.
Are you talking to me or?
I'm just talking to us, yeah. I mean, what's natural to us. And I'm referring to your question, but yeah, it's natural for us to do that.
What about the fact that we've been doing it for millions of years, even before we had all this systematic farm factory and all that? That doesn't make we have evolved. If you want to talk about intelligence, hopefully we're evolving to the point to where we can see what we're doing to our world. Hopefully, if we don't see it for the ethics of the animals, we see it for the ethics of the environment. We are killing the environment. The Amazon is being destroyed minute by minute because of factory farming. It's horrible. Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen meat production in a developing country? I'm just curious.
Have I seen meat production in a developing country?
Yes, ma'am.
I've seen meat production in a developing country on videos.
So,
Not been to them.
Okay, so as someone who's spent some time in the Philippines and other developing countries, I just want to put out there that even though we do kill animals, a lot of farms and stuff and ranches in the United States take care of the animals much better than in the developing world because they feed them better, make sure that they have enough exercise a lot of the time. But in the developing world, they're just kind of like high food with a tree, or they let the animals get sick and then they can't do anything about it, and you can't eat a sick animal, so you just kill it and it's dead, and they leave it there.
Yeah.
So I want to just point out that in the United States, we have found a way, I think also in the developing world, they're going to have to find a way to get the domesticated animals to be healthy, and then they're
Ask me your question.
my question is, how do you want the developing world to treat their animals in order to help them develop into ranch of the future?
Well, I would think that the ranch of the future needs to treat their animals with respect and compassion. All animals deserve to be treated with respect and compassion. They have no voice. We are their voice. If we don't speak up for the animals, who will? And there will be no world peace, y'all, until we have peace on our plate. We will not have peace in anywhere on this planet until we stop eating animals. I believe that with every ounce of my being. Because once we can stop, I know for me, once I stopped eating animals, the whole violent component stopped. I started having more of an open mind for everyone. I became more inclusive, not only for animals, but for humans, for just my whole arena changed. Wars don't work. Violence doesn't work. Violence doesn't work. We've never achieved world peace. We're certainly not getting any closer to it. So why, what? We've never tried to eradicate animal violence. We've never tried to eradicate eating animals. If we stopped it, we'd have world peace. I'm going to end there. Okay? Thank you.